Ever heard the story of Carl Jung carving figures out of stone as a boy? Not grand statues, mind you, but small, personal totems. He'd hide them in his special secret places, imbuing them with a significance that only he understood. It wasn't about showing off. It was about an inner dialogue, a solitary crafting of meaning in a world that often felt too loud. Jung, much like Nietzsche, understood that the most profound transformations often happen in the quiet corners of our being. We often think of strength as something loud, something displayed for the world. But what if true power isn't about the roar, but the quiet resilience forged in the depths of our personal abyss? Think about it. Nietzsche wasn't just a philosopher. He was a cartographer of the inner landscape, bravely charting the turbulent waters most of us try to sail around. He dove headfirst into the chaos, the pain, the very things we're taught to avoid. And he found not destruction, but the raw material for something extraordinary. He famously wrote, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." It's not a cliche. It's a profound psychological insight. Consider the times you've truly evolved. Was it during periods of ease and comfort, or when you were wrestling with difficulty, picking up the pieces? Real strength isn't about pretending the storm isn't raging. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Nietzsche didn't sugarcoat suffering. He saw it as an essential crucible. Change your relationship with hardship, with setbacks, with those moments of stark loneliness, and you begin to sculpt an unyielding spirit. The world gets a little uneasy around such spirits because, while everyone else is running from the shadows, you're learning to navigate them. While others yearn for the predictable, you're brewing something remarkable. But this kind of growth demands a radical departure from the comforting narratives we've been sold about what it means to be strong. It's not about constant positivity. It's about the capacity to endure the unendurable and emerge, not unscathed, but undeniably more potent. But raw chaos alone isn't the answer. Without an inner compass, it can consume you. The stronger your mind becomes, the more you may find yourself on the periphery. The higher you ascend, the more you might disrupt the status quo. The forging of the Übermensch is a deeply transformative process, demanding the dismantling of everything in you that isn't truly yours. Everything imposed by a culture that often prizes conformity over authenticity. Only after this clearing away can true building begin, and this construction doesn't happen in the throng, it happens in the quiet, in the deliberate withdrawal that distinguishes the strong from the weak. Which leads us to a critical, often overlooked aspect of this journey, the solitude of the strong. Because the truth is, to become truly unshakable, you must learn to walk alone, and few are truly ready for that. Are you? If this is resonating, you might find real insight in exploring the concept of individuation, something Carl Jung spoke about deeply, the lifelong process of becoming oneself. It often involves confronting our shadow, the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. Now, if there's an unspoken truth about cultivating mental fortitude, it's this: the more robust you become, the more solitary you might feel. It's not necessarily a deliberate isolation on your part. It's that the world around you may not quite know how to interact with the person you're becoming. Nietzsche keenly observed that the free spirit, the one who questions accepted norms, who thinks independently, inevitably distances themselves from the collective. This separation can be painful, yet it's often a necessary byproduct of genuine growth. You can't truly expand while tethered to the expectations of others. Most people exist within an invisible collective, where thoughts are often policed and actions are measured by external reactions. We become accustomed to moving as a group, thinking as a group, finding security in numbers. But Nietzsche advocates for the opposite. He pulls you away from that comfort and guides you into your own personal wilderness. In that wilderness, there are no accolades, no easy validation, no prescribed path. There's just you, grappling with your doubts, your past wounds, your fears, the urge to give in. And this is where the true test unfolds. What will most people do? They'll likely retreat, seeking the familiar comfort of the crowd, perhaps even masking their true selves to fit back in. But you, if you genuinely aspire to become someone unbreakable, must stay present in that solitude. You must confront the silence that reveals your authentic self. As Jung said, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views that others find inadmissible. That's the essence, the ownership of oneself, a rare and potent achievement. When you truly own yourself, no one else dictates your worth, no one else controls you, and no one else can truly diminish you. But this self-possession often comes with the weight of solitude. You might outgrow certain relationships, you might be misunderstood, you might hear labels like arrogant, strange, or distant. There will be attempts to pull you back into the familiar molds. But this is often the price of not being domesticated, the cost of not needing constant external validation, the result of not living as a mere reflection of others' expectations. The stark truth is, if you cannot tolerate solitude, you're likely not ready for true freedom, because genuine freedom often entails a shedding, a letting go of emotional crutches, comfortable illusions, and superficial connections. Nietzsche saw solitude not as a punishment, but as a fertile ground where the authentic self can finally take root and flourish. But this liberated mind, this strengthened spirit, doesn't just walk alone. It begins to perceive what others often overlook. And with that heightened awareness comes another inevitable consequence: the friction with mediocrity. Because as you begin to grow stronger, the inertia of the collective often pushes back. And that's what we'll explore next. The subtle yet powerful resistance of collective mediocrity, because the world often doesn't celebrate those who are different. It often seeks to diminish them. Nietzsche wasn't primarily concerned with overt tyrants or obvious oppressors. His philosophical ire was often directed at the insidious power of collective mediocrity, that unseen force that subtly pressures everyone to conform, that penalizes those who dare to think outside the box, that elevates conformity and disguises a lack of courage as virtue. True tyranny, according to Nietzsche, often doesn't descend from above. It emanates from the sides, from the pressure of the crowd that wants you to remain small so they don't have to confront their own limitations. This is precisely what happens when you start to stand out. When your thinking sharpens, your resolve strengthens, your presence becomes more impactful. You begin to disrupt, not necessarily by doing anything overtly confrontational, but simply by being different, by breaking free from the accepted norms. And societies often instinctively resist those who deviate from the norm. Collective mediocrity struggles with individual brilliance because that brilliance throws the ordinariness of the status quo into sharp relief. Nietzsche critiqued what he called slave morality, a value system born from those who, unable to achieve greatness themselves, sought to invert traditional values. They redefined strength as arrogance, ambition as selfishness, independence as coldness, thus creating a moral framework that protects the weak and often condemns the strong. But make no mistake, this isn't necessarily rooted in compassion. It often stems from resentment. The truly weak often don't desire to be uplifted. They sometimes desire to see the strong brought down to their level. Therefore, as you begin to liberate yourself from these constraints, expect resistance, sometimes direct, sometimes subtle, through glances, silences, or veiled criticisms. The underlying message is often, rejoin the group. Your difference makes us uncomfortable, and you do simply by being who you are. Nietzsche understood that many live in a state of paralyzing conformity, an existence shaped by fear, guilt, and a desire to please. Anyone who challenges this is often perceived as a threat, but don't be deceived. Mediocrity doesn't often attack with brute force. It operates through numbers, through consensus, through the sheer weight of repetition. It will attempt to sow seeds of self-doubt, to make you question your own validity for not fitting in. It will leverage social pressures, from shame to exclusion, to make you lower your gaze. And it's at this critical juncture that many yield, unable to withstand being perceived as different, difficult, or arrogant. But Nietzsche might offer a different perspective. Necessary, because while the world often circulates around recycled ideas, manufactured desires, and comfortable falsehoods, it is the strong individual who introduces the necessary friction for genuine progress. Your distinctiveness is the spark of transformation, but it will also be met with resistance. Cultivating strength, thinking freely, living autonomously, these are acts of defiance against collective mediocrity, and like any significant undertaking, they require preparation. They require inner resources, not physical weapons, but mental fortitude. And that's what we'll touch upon in our final thoughts, because while there's a considerable cost to developing a mind that stands apart, there's also a reward that is uniquely yours. You'll begin to understand the price and the profound power of becoming truly unyielding. You've journeyed this far. That inherently distinguishes you from the majority. Many might have clicked away at the first challenge, recoiled from the initial discomfort, or dismissed this as not aligning with feel-good, ego-stroking content. But you're still here, perhaps because something within you recognizes the call to move beyond comfortable illusions and engage with reality with open eyes. Because forging a mind that commands a certain respect, even perhaps a touch of fear from those who prefer the familiar, isn't merely a choice, it's a form of renunciation. You might find yourself outgrowing friendships rooted in superficiality. You might forget opportunities that demand a compromise of your integrity. You might lose the ability to be easily satisfied. But in return, you gain something invaluable: authenticity, clarity of vision, a deeper presence. You'll start to notice that many around you seem to be sleepwalking through life, and your own lucidity can be unsettling to them. Your unwavering stance might make others feel insecure, and your absence might resonate more powerfully than the presence of many. This inner strength isn't externally bestowed. It's not learned through quick fixes or shallow affirmations. It's excavated from the depths of your being, in the quiet struggles, in the unseen choices you make. It's the outcome of an internal battle between who you once were and who you are striving to become. A battle that often has no final victory, because the truly strong are not those who have conquered everything, but those who continue to strive even when they could choose to rest. Nietzsche didn't aim to create disciples. He sought to ignite internal revolutions. He wanted you to cease seeking external validation, to stop begging for prepackaged meaning, to stop searching in ready-made systems for what can only be built through personal effort, through conscious awareness. He wanted you to become, in a sense, formidable, not through aggression, but through the sheer force of your authentic being, so much so that your very existence prompts others to look inward and confront what they might be avoiding. Now, I'd like to invite you to take a small but significant step. Share in the comments a truth you've been hesitant to voice, an opinion you've been afraid to express, a thought that might feel isolating but resonates with your true self. This is part of the journey, claiming your voice, asserting your presence, and declaring, even silently, that you will no longer shrink. And if this resonated with you, if something within you stirred, please continue this exploration. The next step is just as vital. If you've come this far, you know this isn't just casual viewing. You're here because something within you is already shifting. So keep going. You're not alone. You're simply further along the path. And that, my friend, can be both unsettling and profoundly liberating. Let me know what you think. Does this capture the essence and the desired length? Subscribe for more free valuable videos. Thanks for watching Mind Unbound.